Right. So, let's see here. Linux Labs. Where to get started, right? A lot of people run to dual booting, Windows and Linux and stuff like that. It can be a little cumbersome, puts your primary data at risk if you've only got your, like your personal desktop or your personal laptop to work with. But in steps virtual machines, right? Virtual machines give you a way to run a virtual computer on, an actual hardware machine. So what you're looking at here is my gaming rig. It's my regular desktop machine. I'm on virtualbox.org, the website, who provides an open source licensed virtualization software solution. You can read over exactly what VirtualBox is here and what they support. You've got a concise version under the About. Uh, we're going to be using it to create 2 Linux VMs today. We'll be creating Ubuntu VMs in this particular video, just because that's what I'm working with currently. One of my favorite ones is Fedora, just because I've been using it forever, but doesn't do a very good job in production. You won't find it, and it's out in front of Red Hat by quite a bit. We'll go through all of those here in a moment. To get VirtualBox, just click on the download link. In here, choose your operating system. That'll start the download. I've already done that, so I'll get another one popping up here. Close out of that, and let that start downloading. While it downloads, I was talking about the Linux distributions. I covered Fedora first. I mentioned it's one of my favorites. That is because it's upstream of Red Hat, and Red Hat's one of the enterprise operating systems that I've run across the most, or at least some derivative of it. You hear me talk about enterprise Linux, that covers, in my mind anyway, Fedora Linux, CentOS Project Linux, Red Hat Linux, Alma Linux, and Rocky Linux, at least for right now. I think Oracle Linux may be in there too. But what it is all of those systems are very alike. They're almost an overlay. You can work on one, you can work on the other. The files are in the same places when you're on the same versions, and it's really easy to move in between them. And you also see Debian and Ubuntu. They're also very similar. Debian's not quite stream of Ubuntu. It kind of is. Ubuntu pulls in changes of their own, and they pull in changes from Debian. They do send things back to Debian, so it's a kind of their own little ecosystem there. And then Alpine Linux is one of the ladders that a lot of containers are being based on right now. They've got a small system focus. How do we keep the image small as it can, kind of thing, and secure? Fedora Linux, if that's the way you want to go, you can get workstation, you can get server, or lab would use the server version. You would want the Fedora 38 DVD ISO. CentOS project, download. This is actually directly upstream of Red Hat. This is CentOS Linux 7, the old version you'll find in some enterprises still today. CentOS Stream is the new thing, version 8 over here, version 9. You would want the x86-64 version. Let's see here. Red Hat itself, enterprise product, right? All kinds of good stuff there, but they also have this no-cost Red Hat Enterprise individual developer subscription that you can get. I believe it's 16 machines you can run it on, and it doesn't, in my reading, appear to have any limitations as far as like not being able to use Red Hat to its fullest. It's not, technology capped. It's pretty much a full Red Hat subscription that you can use up to 16 machines. Yeah, 16 Red Hat virtual machines. Really good opportunity to learn Red Hat as Red Hat instead of trying to learn it like as CentOS or Fedora, Alma Linux or Rocky, right? You may run into Rocky or Alma or even CentOS in the field, like once you actually step into the career, but Red Hat is what they're all kind of trying to imitate and trying to be. They're providing binary equivalents or binary integrated versions of the Red Hat operating system. Alma Linux, like I said, just like Red Hat, download here, ISO images. go to one of the mirrors and you're looking for that x86-64, Rocky Linux. These guys actually, I believe, were the original founders of the CentOS project before it got picked up by Red Hat. So that's kind of neat. Let's see here. Download number 2, x86-64. I'd go for the DVD rather than the minimal unless you're just totally strapped for space. Debian. This is where we get into the other Linux, right? Debian is one of the first distributions I worked on in an enterprise situation, and had so many problems with the age of the software in it that I went ahead and upgraded us. I say upgraded, I migrated us to CentOS at that particular shop. And now it looks like with the things that are going on in the industry, maybe everybody's going to go back towards Ubuntu and Debian. Who knows? Time will tell. So you download here. Let's see here. Here's the net install ISO. I've not used this in a long time, but you download that, and it should let you, as long as you've got internet connectivity, be able to install the latest version of Debian. Ubuntu, ubuntu.com. They do have an enterprise offering that people can get, but they're also very much open source still. Downloads. We want server version for this lab. And this is actually what I've downloaded here. The download Ubuntu Server 2204 LTS. LTS is long-term support, pretty much when you see it in the software world. Means they're going to put defined dates around when they're going to be providing guaranteed updates and security for. In this case, till April of 2027. So till 2204's got some legs. Click that, get the download going. Once that finishes, we'll actually get on with the install. But while that's kicking, I'm going to stop mine because I've already got it. Talk about Alpine. I don't know that much about it. I do know that I used a lot of the containers just because they are smaller, and you'll see a 200 to 300 meg difference sometimes between an Alpine container and an Ubuntu minimal container. It may not mean much as you're stepping into the lab world, but it is definitely good to be aware that Alpine Linux is out there. Different package manager, a little bit different layout. If you want to play with it, you're probably looking for the x86-64 image down here. Yeah. Let's see here. Back to the Oracle screen here, and let me fire up that VirtualBox installer. I've gone to my downloads window on another screen here. I've got a nice UAC screen there. Click to accept, and here's our installer. Browser out of the way. All right. Next here, it's going to describe some of the options that you can get. VirtualBox USB support lets you pass a USB hardware device in. You've got plugged into your machine through to the VM. Virtual machine networking, you've got 2 modes here for how the VMs can actually communicate with the network at large. We're just going to leave all of these default. This is where it's going to install to, leaving that default. Next, this is warning me that my network connection is going to drop briefly while the Oracle VirtualBox installs in order to add some drivers to my networking that it needs. What it's doing is basically putting in a kind of a virtual bridge that allows these VMs to connect to your network on that machine so that they all kind of share your physical network connection in various ways. All right. Oh, missing dependency. We want to install it. I'm not going to worry about it. I'll just say yes. If we do end up using the Python stuff in a future lab, we'll cover that install, but we'll just let it go for now. Yes, and install. Off we go. Into the wild blue yonder, as they say. And start Oracle VM VirtualBox. Might as well. Finish. And here we go. All right. You can see I've done this once already. Let me just delete these. Remove. Delete all files. Delete all. All right. This is what you should be looking at. If you were to click add here, it's going to prompt you to add an existing VM. We're going for new. Let's name it Ubuntu 01. We're going to click down here, click Other, browse to your Ubuntu 22.04.02 ISO, skip unattended installation. I'm going to double my memory. This is going to partition off some of your host machines, actual physical machine's memory temporarily for use by the VM. It'll be allocated to the VM anytime that the VM is powered on, so to speak. 2 CPUs instead of 1 will let the install and the workloads run a little faster when we're done. 25 gigs is good. I want to call attention to pre-allocate full size. When you give this VM 25 gigs and you do not check this box, the VM disk size is going to be very small on disk, so it's not going to chew up a bunch of your hard disk space. On the other hand, if you do check this box, when the virtual machine image or the file is created, it's going to be the full 25 gigs in size. So generally you don't want to check this unless you're doing something that requires some kind of disk heavy performance things, because there is a bit of a tiny performance penalty for allocating storage to what we're going to call a thin provisioned disk, a disk that's not fully filled out yet, right? It can grow to that size, but we're not going to pre-allocate it because we want to save the disk space if we're not actually going to use it. Next here, nice little review of where everything's going. Finish, and we've got our VM. All right, move this window up here a little bit, and I'm going to fire this up. Start. Got some options here. We're going to go for normal start. Headless start and detachable start have to do with creating a VM and having it run in the background so that you don't actually have to like have it sitting here on your screen like this console right here. This is the console into that machine. Click this little thing here. Click in there and it's going to capture my mouse and keyboard. And I can use my up and down arrow keys to move through this menu. You'll notice in the lower right corner of this window, it says Write CTRL, and you'll also probably have noticed that you don't have your mouse available at the moment. It's because it's locked into that VirtualBox console. Hit your right control button, and it'll pop out, and you can move it around again. When you click on the console, it's going to capture your mouse and keyboard again, just so that the input goes directly to the VM. That's how we control the VM from our console or from our desktop. We're going to try or install Ubuntu Server. Get this out of the way again. Just a little bigger. While that's doing its thing, I'm actually going to start another one over here. It beat me to it. Here we go. English. Update to the new installer. If you've got internet connectivity, you can do this and it'll update Canonical Subiquity Installer. That's the name of the software we're actually seeing on the console right now. I like to update it. It's not causing any problems, especially in a lab environment. It makes sure you've got kind of the latest of the latest for the installer. Yeah, it's not really anything different unless they've got a bug out there or some new security, thing, and you've got an old image that you're working from. Here, I leave those how they are. Done. Ubuntu Server versus Ubuntu Server Minimized. We're going to just use regular server here. Ubuntu Minimized is just what it says. It's like the smallest functional version of Ubuntu you can kind of get. And a lot of your utilities and things like that would be like needed to be installed afterwards just to keep the image small. We're going to go with a regular server just so we've got all the stuff we want. Enter there. DHCP. Oh, I forgot to switch our networks. Let's do that after we've installed. You can see that IP address is an address that's being provided by VirtualBox itself, and we're natted. So as we head out of the network, we're going to be using the host machine's IP address. Proxy don't need one. And the installer here. This is verifying that the mirrors that it's using is actually good. You could come up here and edit this if you wanted to use a local mirror, but we're not doing that today. Down here, it's your hard disk setup. You'll leave the automatic stuff there, the defaults. When you hit done, this is kind of the layout on disk. We are going to change one thing here. By default, Ubuntu only allocates half of your disk space to be available. They have reasons for that I won't dive into in this lesson, but look for my LVM tutorial later, and I'll explain it. We're going to take this 11.496, turn it into a 22.996. You can see that size just to the left. That's the full size available. Save that. Done. This is saying, hey, if you hit continue here, you can't come back and change anything. That's okay. Now, username and password that you can remember. This is the user's actual name. I call it a Gecko's Field comment or something like that. Server name, Ubuntu 01. This is my actual login username. Go with what I use there. And password, make sure to remember that. It's a pain in the butt to reset. Hit done. Skip Ubuntu Pro. Install OpenSSH server. Hit the space bar there and it'll check it. Down, down, down. Done. OpenSSH server is a remote access server. So like if you're administering Linux boxes, you connect with SSH. This is the server that allows that to happen on these VMs. These are a bunch of available pre-installable softwares. Down, 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 down. Done. And now we're installing. While that's doing its thing, I'll just drag that over there out of the way. Do new again. Ubuntu 02. It's in our list already since we've used it. Skip unattended. 4096. These settings will depend on how much memory and CPU you've actually got on your machine, but with today's modern day equipment, you can usually bump it up a bit. Don't pre-allocate. 25 gigs is fine. Looks good. Normal start. Close out of this here. Install Ubuntu server. Have right control to free my mouse again there. Make my window a little bigger. Get rid of that. Click back in here. Now we've got 2 virtual machines running on our one real machine. Both of them in the install process. We're going to do the same thing here with Ubuntu 02, English. Update the installer. Ubuntu server. It's weird, it's got the same IP as the other VM, but that has to do with the weird network net stuff I was talking about. We'll fix on the other side. I'm going to leave the default mirror to download and install from. And bump our disk space up, 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 up. There, edit. 22.996. Save. Down, down, down. Done. Yes, we are sure. install OpenSSH server, hit spacebar to mark it. Go down, done, tab to get to the done without having to press down all the way through all that. Enter. And now that one's installing. Let's see. While those are doing, let's pop into the settings here. I'll actually minimize these, get a little bit less busy on the screen. Right click, settings. And we've got nothing interesting. This system, motherboard, processor, you can, when the VM is shut down, change the amount of memory allocated, change the number of processors allocated. And I wouldn't mess with that unless you know what you're doing. Display, remote display is something they've got in here. I don't know what the protocol is, but I noticed it earlier. Thought that was pretty cool. If you need to plug another hard drive in, or if you want to add storage to your VM, you can come in here with the VM turned off, and these buttons down here will be available to create. Here they are, add disks to the controller. Yeah. Let's see, video, network, NAT. So that's what's got that 10 dot whatever IP in the VM. Each of these will have the setting. Once they finish installing, check these. Not quite done yet. Once they finish installing, we'll switch these over to bridged adapter, and that will effectively, it's like running a cable from your actual local network that your computer's plugged into to the VMs. So they'll pick up IP addresses from my machine. You may need to leave it on NAT if you're on Wi-Fi, but I would try bridged, and if it works, awesome. If it doesn't, switch it back to NAT and you'll be good. Oh, wait, I'm going to finish. There we go. See, it's finished. It's got that reboot now at the bottom right-hand side. Reboot now. Away we go. It's going to complain about not being able to unmount the CD-ROM. That means it can't eject the CD-ROM because there's not one. It's all virtual, buddy. And that'll come back up a Ubuntu 01 server ready to use. We were digging through some more settings. Nothing's important to the lab here. All right. Oh. I just hit enter to get the login thing, login prompt pop up. Login name that I set. Password that I set. And we are there. IP editor, show my IP address. I can see that it's at 10.2.15. We're going to go back up here to devices, network settings, bridged adapter, hit OK, check again. There we go. Took it a minute. I'm hitting up and enter there to repeat the command over and over. And we've got that 192, 168, 169, 168. Here's logging out and back in to get back to the screen. You can see the IP address on it there again. And with that, let me see here. Let's see. I'm running Windows 11. I do. So if I target that's my username at 192.168.169.168, hit enter. It should ask me to verify the server's fingerprint. I just type yes, hit enter, put in my password, and I'm on the console of that box remotely from my desktop. I could then go ahead and shut down the VM. This is the command that means run it as the admin, basically run it as root. Shut down -H-P now. That's halt. Turn the power off and do it right this second. That's my password again. Oh, got that wrong. Yeah, there we go. And now you can see it shut off. I mentioned before, you can change the memory now, change the settings on the CPU. And we can also start it headless. You'll see it start, but powering up, got a little preview window. I don't have the console, right? So the console done here. Reboot. See, but I can still SSH Ubuntu 01. And I've got a little Ubuntu Lightbox. This is just getting packages updated and the software upgraded. Oop, upgrade. Yes, we do. Fire for effect. I'll take and pull that other console back up. Oh, enter. And reboot it. We're going to bring this one up headless again once we get its network moved. We can move that while it's on the way up, probably. Network settings here. Devices, network settings. Bridged adapter. Click OK. If you've got multiple adapters, you may actually have to choose which adapter you've got there, but I don't have to worry about it on this machine. Oops. Cloud in it, making a mess of the console. And this is saying, hey, you changed these things in that update. Do you want to restart them so they're using the new stuff? Yeah, we do. Matter of fact, we'll reboot. Great. Yes, we do. This machine should be back up now. All right. Fully up to date. There's our IP right here. Doesn't finish. Like how the other one doesn't have its console up. You can actually set these to start, I believe, like when the machine boots. You have to find that in here. There used to be a way that as your Windows computer booted up, you could just have VirtualBox start the machines that you wanted to run on there. It's an easy way to make sure your lab machines start. Whenever you reboot, we're going to start this one back up in that headless mode again. Oh, that might be problematic because I don't think I got the IP for it yet. Can it show me? I don't think it does without the tools installed. Show. Okay. There's our IP address right here. Now we can check from this other machine. Bing. This sends a network signal across the wire there. A virtual wire. We can ping it. So if we can ping it, we can open another window. Yes, we do. And we're on. Yep. No updates ready. And we can tab back and forth between these two machines. I don't know what else to show you from there. From here, it would be deciding what packages you want to learn. Close out of that. Continue running in the background. Close out of all of that, and these are still here, right? And close all the way out of this, and the machine should still be there. Oh, I can remember the password. That's an IP. There's one of them. And there's that one. Oh, there you go. Separate these. Oh, they won't pop out. Well, anyway, got all of those, and can pretty much move on from there. This would work with Fedora servers, Ubuntu servers, any of those um, distributions we talked about earlier. Let's see here. Yeah, that's about all I wanted to do right now, I think. Good luck.